This is Greg Troutwine with Maritime Reporter TV, and we're here today with Matt Fish, the Managing Director of Xenos Marine, to discuss his company and its mission, including the recent acquisition and the renaming of the TX-10,000, one of the most powerful heavy lift vessels in the world. So, Matt, I really appreciate you joining us. To start us off, can you just give us a brief career background?
Yeah, sure. So I hired on actually with Versabar, who designed and built this vessel right when they were constructing the predecessor vessel to the TX 10,000. So that was in around 2007, 2008. And John Cacciatorian, who was the originator and owner of Versabar, designed a salvage vessel called the Bottom Feeder. And that was built in response to all the toppled structures from hurricanes that had kind of ravaged through the Gulf, through the years. And so the industry needed something to help recover these things and clean up the seafloor. And so John had an idea and invented and had the support of local industry in developing and putting to work the bottom feeder. So I was hired on by John back right when they built this initial vessel to manage the operations offshore for the bottom feeder. In 2009-ish, we had the surge of decommissioning that was starting to come into the market, and we saw an opportunity to continue to push those boundaries in offshore heavy lifting. And we went to the drawing board and just stretched and grew the bottom feeder and scaled it up twofold to include lifting capacity, hook height. So the bottom feeder had a lifting capacity of 4,000 tons and about a 85 foot hook height. And the VB 10,000, its original name, went to a 10,000 ton structural lifting capacity that was subsequently limited by buoyancy, that dropped it down to about 7,500 tons of lifting capacity. Full DP3 system that we designed on this new version, and about 180, 190 feet of hook height. So it was designed primarily with the focus of offshore decommissioning and installation, again, salvage work as well too. We commissioned that vessel in 2010 and decommissioned the bottom feeder. So we actually operated both vessels that same year and then decommissioned the bottom feeder afterward and just charged forward with the VB 10,000. I continue to manage all offshore heavy lifting and construction activities for Versabar throughout its time with the vessel. In 2019, we had one of the largest shipwrecks in U.S. history. The Golden Ray capsized, leaving the port of Brunswick in the St. Simon Sound. And so Versabar and the VB 10,000 team partnered with TNT Salvage under one banner. We responded to the call and arrived on site in October of 2020 and spent a year through COVID managing the wreck removal of the Golden Ray shipwreck that had, I think, about 4,300 brand new vehicles inside of her. We came up with a plan that had been tried once or twice previously, never was successful in sectioning this ship that was almost 700 feet long with all cars inside. We sectioned it into 8 sections. We cut each section with 3-inch mooring chain with the TX 10,000 and recovered each section. I think the heaviest of those was just over 8,000 tons. Set them on transportation barges into the scrapyard. Very interesting project, very fun project. So built a very good relationship with the salvage company, TNT Salvage, and Mr. Kevin Teichman over there. The vessel was sold through the course of that to a conglomerate from Versabar to the new owner, which was under the banner of TCM 10,000. And they had the vessel for the past 3 or 4 years or so. And an opportunity presented itself for me to acquire the vessel here end of last year. In doing so, I asked Mr. Teichman, Kevin, if he would be interested in partnering with me on this new venture under the Xenos Marine banner. And so Xenos Marine is a partnership between TNT Salvage and Xenos LLC. So Kevin Teichman and myself acquired the vessel. Sole purpose is to bring this thing back to life to U.S. waters, manage as much as we can in offshore heavy lifting for everybody here at home. So we're very excited to bring her back to life. We just completed a christening with the new name, the TX 10,000, on Sunday. Very good turnout to that. Exciting times, and we're looking to complete a full refurbishment on the vessel near the end of May and then start working. We have a long-term contract with a major operator here in the Gulf for the next several years to handle all of their work, and are steadily adding more to the mix, providing this back to the market.
So when you look at Xenos today, and I know you just kind of gave the insights on that, can you kind of give a by the numbers of the company using the metrics of your choice? I just want to give our audience kind of a breadth and a depth of who you are and what you are today.
So Kevin and myself are the owners of the company and the vessel. Focus is for the company is on decommissioning as a primary focal point for the work that we do. Of course, we'll also be getting into some structure installations. Not so much here in U.S. waters, a little bit down in Mexico, but we'd like to keep her here in the Gulf, readily available for the U.S. market. And on top of that, salvage response. We've done quite a bit of salvage work with this vessel and its predecessor. The company makeup, it's a full circle story. For me personally, it's been very exciting. I was able to pull back the original crew on this vessel. Going back even further, most of us worked together on the bottom feeder from the early 2000s, transition into the 10,000. The guys had kind of scattered over the past few years, was able to bring the original crew that we have been working together for near 20 years back in place. So the confidence level in driving things successfully is very, very high. And that continuity we're trying to bring back and reach into even a lot of our partners and support assets and even personnel that help support this vessel and its operations.
It's awesome. So again, just not to be too repetitive here. So what are the primary capabilities of Xenos Marine today? I'm just looking, obviously you have the salvage portion, you have the decommissioning, you have a lot of unique capabilities, but I'm just trying to get at the physical and the human assets that you have to do the jobs that you want to do.
So we have collectively under the Xenos and TNT banner, we have the TX 10,000. We have an assortment of support assets that include small deck barges, crew boats, supply boats, some smaller crane barges. There's discussion of adding another mid-size crane barge to the mix at some point in the near future as well too, just to support everything. So it's on top of that, we've got engineering, surface diving support in-house, survey, kind of touch all the bases on support assets for what we do in offshore construction.
I know it's exciting times. You just had the renaming. The vessel's been down at Gulf Copper to have some work done. I know those guys down there very well. Can you just give me a little insight of what was done to the vessel?
Of course. So the vessel was actually overdue for its 5 year special. So she's 15 years old now. She was overdue for her 5 year special survey with class and regulatory. Immediately upon the acquisition in December of last year, we reached out to Gulf Copper to get her in as fast as we could. First week of January, we came around from Sabine Pass, Texas, into Galveston. It's been a very good working relationship with Gulf Copper throughout the past 2 months that we've spent there. So first and foremost was getting through our 5 year special surveys with ABS and Coast Guard. On top of that, a little bit of steel work on the hulls, a blast and recoat of the hulls, some cathodic protection. On top of that, as part of the acquisition, we wanted to completely refurbish the vessel to an as new condition. So we've done outside of the hull work that Gulf Copper focused on, we've done an immense amount of work on the propulsion system and bringing everything back up to speed. So the vessel has 8 thrusters, 4 on each barge, each 1,000 horsepower. Every thruster was pulled while we were in the dry dock. All the hoses were changed out, a bunch of the electrical components. And subsequently, when we get back to Sabine, we'll continue the refurbishment and upgrades to the propulsion system, the mechanical systems. New wire is on its way right now from South Korea to be installed on all the crane blocks. It's a massive amount of wire. So each winch, we have 4 crane blocks, 4 main crane blocks, each good to a 2,000 tons capacity, driven by a 400-ton winch, multi-parted, 3.5-inch wire, 7,500 feet each spool. On top of the 4 main hoist winch, we have 4 auxiliary winches as well too at a 500-ton capacity each of 2-inch wire, about 5,000 feet each reel. So all the wire is going to be replaced here in the next few weeks. We'll do a full system load test to close it out to full capacity. We'll conduct 100% FMEA sea trials offshore and then go to work.
Where are we going to be seeing this vessel in the next year or so?
So for the next 5 or 6 months, we have committed work right now here at home in the Gulf. We kind of span from east to west, depending on the locations for these projects. We have some decommissioning work as kind of a primary workload and scope for this year. That'll include some topside removals, and then there'll be some jacket structures that will actually be taking in artificial reef sites and setting them down and reefing these jackets.